In the scriptural verses that precede our selected scriptural text for today, we discover that Jesus is in Capernaum and has just performed a notable miracle. Jesus is just leaving the house of Jairus, who was the ruler of the synagogue. Jairus had come to Jesus and asked Jesus to come to his house and lay his hand on his daughter, who Jairus left at home sick unto death. After Jairus traveled to the place where Jesus was, and after making his request known to him, some of his neighbors showed up. And they came and told Jairus not to trouble Jesus about coming to his house, for his daughter now was dead. Jesus answered the news from the neighbors by telling Jairus to not be afraid, but only believe. After arriving at Jairus' house, and after having to go in the house and put out the folk who were mourning and shrieking over the child's loss, Jesus walks in the room, grabs Jairus' daughter by the hand, and tells her to rise. And the Bible says that Jairus' daughter rose from the dead. This brings us up to our selected text for today. In verse 27, the Bible says, as Jesus went on from there, from Jairus' house, the Bible says that two blind men followed him. Did you hear what I said? Two blind men followed him. They were two men that had the same problem. What was their problem? They were blind. Now, if you read the text closely, the text leads us to believe that these two men were not always blind, because in verse 30 of the text, the Bible tells us that their sight was restored. Is that what your book says? To restore means to bring back to a previous condition. So, when we examine the text, we don't know what was the cause of their blindness. But we do know that at one point they were both blind. And just like these two blind men in our text who suffered from the same problem identified as blindness, all of us here today were born with a common problem called sin. Oh, come on now. The Bible says all, that means everybody, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. All of us were born with the common problem called sin. And unfortunately, some of us are still blinded by sin, and we are in need right now of some spiritual eye surgery. Though both of these men were blind, deacons, they had enough sense, as the Bible says, to follow Jesus. Did y'all hear what I said? We're told both of these guys were blind. But even though they were blind, they had enough sense to follow Jesus. And if by chance this morning you are still suffering from spiritual blindness, I want to declare to you that you are in the right place. Why? Because Jesus is in this place. How do you know that, Reverend? Jesus himself said, where two or three are gathered together in my name, he said, I am in the midst. Lean over and tell your neighbor, you're in the right place. Because these men followed Jesus. Listen to what they cried out while they followed Jesus. They cried out, make sure I'm in the book, have mercy on us. Is that what your Bible says? Notice with me, New Providence. Notice with me, friends, that they did not cry out, have mercy on me. But they cried out, have mercy on us. In other words, what I'm suggesting, as these two blind men basically said to Jesus, we are in this thing together. We have the same condition. We are in the same predicament. And my brothers and sisters, when it comes down to receiving blessings and healing from God, wouldn't it be nice if we all had a we mindset rather than a me, oh Lord, mindset? Lean over, tell your neighbor, we're in this thing together. So you know what that means? When I get blessed, I want you to get blessed. When I get healed, come on here now, I want you to get healed. When I am blessed with favor, I want his favor to fall upon you also. Why? Because we are not only did these two blind men have the same problem, but these two blind men from the text, we discover that even though they were blind, they persistently pursued after Jesus. Did y'all hear what I said? They were blind. Couldn't see, but they persistently pursued after Jesus. Now, I am the first to admit that I don't know how these two blind men were able to stay with the Jesus crowd. But all I know is that they persistently called out to Jesus. Is that what your Bible reads? But notice with me that even though these blind men persistently cried out to Jesus, the text infers that Jesus kept on walking to his next destination. Now, Pastor Wood, if these men are calling out to Jesus, why does it appear that he is ignoring their cries? Can I talk with y'all? Why, Pastor Wood, does Jesus seem at times to turn a deaf ear to our requests? Can I help somebody? Sometimes you may think that Jesus is not listening. But tell your neighbor, he's listening. But sometimes He does not respond when we want him in order to test our faith and to test our endurance. Oh, Lord. Tell your neighbor, he tests your endurance. These blind men persistently pursued after Jesus. And they were so persistent that, check out the text, Jesus goes indoors. These two blind men were so persistent that they followed him up into a house where Jesus went into. Now, there ain't no reference if they knew the homeowner. Bible didn't say they were invited in. But these two blind men did not care. All they knew was they had to have an audience with Jesus. And I stopped by to tell somebody, you need to be persistent. Oh, come on here. Tell your neighbor, don't give up too quick. Persistently pursue your relationship with Jesus the Christ. Can I give y'all 5 more minutes? Not only did these two blind men have the same problem, not only did these two blind men persistently pursue after Jesus, but even in their blindness, they were able to maintain a positive confession. Wait a minute, well, y'all missed that one. Y'all missed that one. I said that though these two blind men had the same problem, though these two blind men persistently pursued after Jesus, these two blind men, even though they were blind, still maintained a positive confession. Where you find that at, Pastor Webb? Look at verse 28. Jesus says to these two blind men, do you believe that I am able to do this? Now these two men were what? They were blind. But they persistently pursued after Jesus. When they have their audience with Jesus, Jesus asked them, do you believe that I am able to do this? Well, these two blind men, what do they respond? They say, yes, positively, that's positive. Yes, Lord. In other words, they did not let their circumstances cause them to lose faith. But they maintained a positive confession. I want to try to help somebody here. Right now, it may not be looking so good for you. But I dare you to maintain a positive confession. What are you talking about, Pastor Wood? I got some bills due right now, and I don't understand how I'm going to get the money to pay it. But I know the Lord, come on here, will make a way. These two blind men, even though they were still blind, maintained their positive. Lord, I know I can't see right now, but I know you are able, Lord, have mercy, to do whatever you want to do. Anybody believe that he's able to do above and exceedingly more than we can ask or think? Well, as I go to my seat, as the result of their recognizing that they had the same problem, that together they were persistently pursuing Jesus, and together they both maintained a positive confession, the Bible says that they, somebody say they received their healing. The Bible says that Jesus laid his holy hand upon their eyes, and both men received their healing. They started out together. They pursued Jesus together. And they end up receiving their healings together. Tell your neighbor, we're in this thing together. As I go to my seat, Jesus does something, what I call it kind of crazy. He makes a crazy request to the both of these men. Jesus has the nerve, after healing these two blind men, to tell them, don't y'all tell nobody. Don't you tell, hush your mouth. Don't you tell anyone what I have just done for you. But the Bible says that they, somebody say they, that these two once blind men, now able to see, that they could not control their praise. The Bible says that they went out and spread the news about Jesus. Tell your neighbor, they went out. Why did they go out? Because they were in this thing together. And as I prepare to go to my seat, I just want to know, is there anybody here who are in this Jesus thing with me? If you are in this Jesus thing, won't you help me declare the goodness of the Lord? Has the Lord been good to you? Has the Lord made a way out of no way? Has the Lord healed your body? Has the Lord opened doors for you? If you are in this Jesus thing, help me lift him up, because if we lift him up, he'll draw all men unto me. If we together lift him up and give him glory, when blessings go up, lean over and tell you that we're in this thing together. So when I get happy, you can get happy too. When I bless his name, you can bless his name too. We're in this thing together. Tell your neighbor, I'm in this Jesus thing